Hello, hello.
Hi, I can
Hi,
hear you now.
I can hear you.
Awesome. I know we have one person on with us live.
Hello, ladies. I see a second.
Yay. Oh, that's right. Awesome. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you? I scattered the books out because I'm like, I don't know what order they're going to come in. We'll see what happens.
We'll
And they
talk.
make me so happy when I look down and see them.
You'll have to, that's a great photo right there, huh?
Yeah, with my tea right, like kind of nearby. Hopefully, stays in its cup.
Yeah. I love your backdrop. I feel a deep breath settle over me just looking at it. Mm,
That's my intention.
mossy covered tree roots.
And it's like, it's kind of curious, like what's in there? I don't know.
Oh, but that moss just connecting everything
Mhm.
reminds me of that we are just all so interconnected.
Yeah.
Well, I was feeling dropping in with just a brief meditation or a few deep breaths together.
I think that would be wonderful. And then as you're joining us, if you could just go ahead and mute your microphones, that way we get a nice clean audio. We would really appreciate that. Thank you. Sorry, just some light housekeeping.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Thanks for mentioning that. So we're here together. Denny Shay and I love to offer these mini retreats online, and I feel like at this time in our cultural season, it's more important than ever that we get together in ways that support our nervous systems and our hearts. So again, please mute yourself if you aren't muted already. You'll have the best audio experience that way. Okay. So we're going to just close eyes and drop in together. Denny Shay, how does it look from your side?
It looks great.
Okay, perfect. Good. All right, so we'll close eyes and just feel your base body, your pelvis and legs, maybe even the back of your torso, your spine, wherever you're sitting and resting. Allow yourself to settle down into the body, moving attention away from the head. Feel the effects of gravity. Acknowledge the great earth spinning underneath you that's supportive ongoingly. And let your senses open, noticing the touch of air, the sounds, the fragrances, the textures. And let the visual field soften behind the eyelids. And so the whole body starts to soften into a receptivity to the spoken word. Acknowledge that it has a powerful effect at a cellular level and at an energetic level of the heart. And see if there are any intentions you have for yourself during this 40-minute mini retreat. And feel free to open eyes and join back with the external colors and shapes and forms when you're ready. So I have to start by asking what you're drinking.
Did you see things floating around?
Ooh, some ginger.
No, it's actually I have a formula that a practitioner made for me a long time ago, and it's kind of like a nice women's formula and adaptogenic and kind of a tonic. And so I just so happen to have some cut reishi mushrooms and some cut astragalus. So I've just been steeping that and enjoying that.
Some nice immune support.
It is, and to me, it has like a light taste unless I seal it up and let it sit for a long period, and then it can kind of get a little bit earthier, but that takes a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have vata tea with a little
Oh,
almond.
nice.
Vata tea from, is that Maharishi? No.
Yes, VPK Maharishi.
Hmm.
That's a really nice soft tea too.
It's got a sweetness to it with the licorice that I find really calming.
Yeah, I also love licorice. Well, I super love licorice, but I agree.
Yeah, it satisfies my desire for something sweet without
Hmm.
actually any sugar.
Absolutely.
Is important for the vata nature because sugar or sweetness, the sweet taste pacifies excess vata.
Absolutely. And it gives a sense of stability and support and nourishment that I think we're all really
Mm,
craving. So hopefully we're giving ourselves some of that medicine in healthy ways.
mm. Well, what poetry medicine do you have?
Well, when we talked about our theme being, somewhat nature based, and then kind of open that up into being also a sense of like comfort and feeling, welcomed. Of course, I have Mary Oliver.
Mm,
I have quite a few. So I was thinking I would actually sprinkle her in throughout, kind of weave her in, just so it's not, a whole period full of Mary. But I have some Herman Hesse. I have some Thoreau. I have a sweet couple of things that I found to be very comforting from Charlie McKaysey. He's on Instagram. So that's his
mm.
little book.
Absolutely delightful. If you don't have it, it is sweet little drops of medicine.
He illustrates and he writes, and the book is for all ages, for anybody at any time in their life. It's just enough. It's sweet. It's inspiring. It's clean. He's done a really beautiful job. So that there's a few things I have there, and a few more little things if we have time. So
Yay. I have
yeah.
in John O'Donohue, Radiant Sutras, a naturalist, and Dana Falls, who's a yogic poet, yogi poet.
Oh, nice.
It's her book, Go In and In.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Well, shall I start?
that would be lovely. And we'll try to read most of them twice so you have a chance to really let things steep, let the words and images steep.
Yes. So I'm going to start with, I think, the queen of poetry and nature is Mary Oliver. So this comes from the book Devotions, but from her, that's a collection of her work. So this is actually, if you want to buy the singular book, her book Evidence that she wrote in 2009. She's pretty popular for have written a book, I think almost every year she was with us. So this one's called It Was Early.
Mm.
It was early, which has always been my hour, to begin looking at the world. And of course, even in the darkness, to begin listening into it, especially under the pines where the owls live and sometimes calls out. As I walk by, as he did on this morning, so many gifts. What do they mean? In the marshes where the pink light was just arriving, the mink, with his bristle tail, was stalking the soft-eared mice. And in the pines, the cones were heavy, each one ordained to open. Sometimes I need only to stand wherever I am to be blessed. Little mink, let me watch you. Little mice, run and run. Dear pine cone, let me hold you as you open. So it was early. It was early, which has always been my hour, to begin looking at the world. And of course, even in the darkness, to begin listening into it, especially under the pines where the owls live, and sometimes calls out as I walk by, as he did on this morning. So many gifts. What do they mean? In the marshes, where the pink light was just arriving, the mink with his bristle tail was stalking the soft-eared mice. And in the pines, the cones were heavy, each one ordained to open. Sometimes I need only to stand wherever I am to be blessed. Little mink, let me watch you. Little mice, run and run. Dear pine cone, let me hold you as you open.
There's so much in her poems.
Beautiful. I like, what's the name of that, Denny?
Hi, Rodney. It's called It Was Early by Mary Oliver, and we will provide a list of all the poems after, so I will absolutely email you the list of all of what we read.
Thank you. And I love your background. It makes me feel like I'm up in Colorado mountains.
Yes, yep. Thank you. So, started with some Mary Oliver.
Okay, so we need everyone to check their microphones and make sure they're muted. We are getting some background feedback. Thank you. Try that once more. All right. So I'm going to follow your lead, and also your image calls me to a passage by a naturalist named David Abram in his book, Becoming Animal. So it's just a passage about the forest and how we receive nature with our own bodies. I think I'll just read this one once since it is prose and a little bit longer.
Okay.
Here in the forest, all is body language. Tall spruces, orb-weaving spiders, a chipmunk poised on a fallen trunk, rapidly gnawing something held in its forepaws. Even the outbreak of bright lichens on a rock outcropping. All of these breathing beings are bodies, distant variants of my own flesh, as indeed my body is a distant echo of theirs. Each has its sensations, its own experience of the world around it. And it seems obvious that their experience is as weirdly different from my experience as their bodies differ from mine. We are almost wholly alien to one another. Yet, each organism in these woods seems to express itself directly, without the mediation of symbols or sentences. Hence, the tension expressed by the sounds or movements of another creature will sometimes trigger a resonance in my own flesh. I've no doubt that my empathic sensations are dramatically different from those actually felt by the skittish deer or the squirrel. Yet, with regard to such basic experiences as fear, pain, and pleasure, it seems silly to assume that our feelings are entirely our own. There is a subtle entanglement and confusion between all beings of the earth, a consequence not only of our common ancestry and the cellular similarities of our makeup, but also of our subjection to variant aspects of the same whirling world.
My body feels so tingly, like a yes, yes, yes.
I'll read just a couple sentences over from that.
Yeah.
I love this one. All of these breathing beings are bodies, distant variants of my own flesh, as indeed my body is a distant echo of theirs. There is a subtle entanglement and confusion between all beings of the earth.
I think we're finding that out right now. There's no question.
Exactly, Rodney, and that's part of what drew me to that passage. I read it and felt it was very appropriate for this time when we're realizing how interconnected the whole world is. By means of the body of a virus, we're discovering our common body.
Yeah, down to something we can't even see.
Right. Like the mosses in those tree roots behind Denny Shea, connecting the whole forest to itself.
So the little something extra I thought I might not get into, it's like, it's right there.
Yeah.
Do you have a feeling who it is? It's Stephen Berner.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just starting this juicy bit, and he's got a series. So staying at home, having to read these books, it's not so terrible. Comes from Plant Intelligence.
Do that.
And he cites a lot of different writers and people that have all different backgrounds in terms of like wisdom teachings or being scientists. So it's very interesting on both sides. He's got a bit of personality, so that's fun to see. But actually the two bits I wanted to read are quotes that he's pulled from other people. And so one of which is Thoreau, which I do have another book of him, but this one really touches on to me what you were talking about too, in terms of the connectedness of all living things that we're experiencing. In the midst of a gentle rain, I was suddenly sensible of such a sweet and beneficent society in nature, in the very patterning of the drops, and in every sound and sight around my house, an infinite and unaccountable friendliness, all at once like an atmosphere sustaining me. Every little pine needle expanded and swelled with sympathy and befriended me. I was so distinctly made aware of the presence of something kindred to me, even in scenes which we are accustomed to call wild and dreary, and also that the nearest of blood to me and humanness was not a person or a villager, that I thought no place could ever be strange to me again.
It opens the heart.
Yeah. An unaccountable friendliness all at once, like an atmosphere sustaining me, that I thought no place could ever be strange to me again. Mm.
I definitely felt that when I've traveled and lived other places.
Mm.
I felt a comfort that I didn't realize I would feel. It's a very cool thing when it happens.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Mm. The tone of friendliness reminds me of, and the whole passage, you know, how we say in the IRS practice that it's a practice of coming home to yourself,
Mhm.
friends with yourself, learning how
Yes.
to really be friends with yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. It also reminded me too of when we do any kind of partner work,
Mm.
whether we're silently sitting or we're gazing or we're engaging in some way that's really connected, like that it's not strange at all.
Mm.
Like it's so reflective and also so natural.
Mm-hmm.
Being meeting being.
Mm-hmm. Whether it's tree or lichen or human or mm-hmm. Well, the tone of friendship in that, have a comment. Thank you, Rachel, for your comment. Yeah. This is such a beautiful discussion. We are loving awareness. The shape of that poem has that archetype of friend in it so strongly that it led me to my John O'Donohue poem. John O'Donohue is an Irish poet, Celtic root. And this one's called For Friendship. And it feels important to me at this time as well. So we're realizing and understanding our connection with all things. And I think also coming to really value our individual communities and networks, the relationships that are most important at this time are revealing themselves. For friendship, may you be blessed with good friends and learn to be a good friend to yourself, journeying to that place in your soul where there is love, warmth, and feeling. May this change you. May it transfigure what is negative, distant, or cold within your heart. May you be brought into real passion, kindness, and belonging. May you treasure your friends. May you be good to them, be there for them, and receive all the challenges, truth, and light you need. May you never be isolated, but know the embrace of your Anamchara. And Anamchara, I had to look it up, but it's Celtic, I believe, or Gaelic for soul friend.
Which is very similar to Ahamkar, right?
Yeah.
In the yogic Sanskrit tradition.
Different meaning, but yeah, sounds a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
For friendship, may you be blessed with good friends and learn to be a good friend to yourself. Journeying to that place in your soul where there is love, warmth, and feeling. May this change you. May it transfigure what is negative, distant, or cold within your heart. May you be brought into real passion, kindness, and belonging. May you treasure your friends. May you be good to them, be there for them, and receive all the challenges, truth, and light you need. May you never be isolated, but know the embrace of your Anamchara.
How about a little sweetness from Charlie?
Wonderful.
So this illustration is this horse wading through water, and the boy and the mole, which are two of his characters, are on the back of the horse. And this is how it goes. Everyone is a bit scared, said the horse, but we are less scared together. I love that.
Oh, it's so good.
I know, and the illustration is just so sweet.
Is there another one from Charlie? I know there's 2 or 3 of us on this call who love Charlie.
Mm.
Show the illustration, Denny, if you can. Wow,
And if
so
you find,
timely.
yeah, if you find him on Instagram, he has some time-lapse videos of himself drawing with ink, and it's just, it's magical.
And he's publishing new things daily. I feel like that, this is just a book of his, but he's creating art. It seems like through all of this, I've seen some beautiful things he's expressed gratitude for his neighborhoods and communities. Yeah. I mean, the other one I thought that was, interesting, especially, where I am in California, being a bit sheltered. I'm very comfortable being sheltered. I tend to be more introverted, but I know for others it can be really challenging. And I know for me at some point it will be challenging and I'll want to get out there and see people, but I won't, or I'll do so very respectfully. But the other one that I thought was sweet was when the big things feel out of control, focus on what you love right under your nose.
Mm. So what would that?
And this one it's funny, this one's a dual pager and it looks like a really windy forest and you can see them they're really small somewhere in the middle, the whole gang of them together. So I loved that one too.
So I think I'm going to bring in this yogini poet, Dana Faulds. And it still continues this theme we're in of all being one and finding stillness or calm in the frenzy or the chaos. This one's called The Weaver and the Loom. Sit here for a bit. Place yourself outside the frenzied pace of life. This is what you're doing with this hour with us, or 45 minutes. Place yourself outside the frenzied pace of life. Slow down long enough to appreciate birds in flight, water drops like prisms in the grass, and countless shades of green. Step off the fast track and listen to the sound of breath and bird song. Take a moment to just be, and in the being, know the whole of this creation. Mystery and madness, passion and profanity. Know it all as one stunning tapestry. Sit still, and the thin line between sacred and profane simply fades away. There is nothing to reconcile. All the disparate threads are woven on the loom of life. Sit here for a bit, and your unique place in the pattern becomes clear. Take the still point with you when it's time to walk away. Make the choice to watch the picture taking shape as thread joins thread. Dare to be the weaver and the loom, creator and creation. In a moment of stillness, all that came before is seen as one. And because our time is already dwindling, I think I will save the repeat of that for your email that will come after.
Okay. Yeah, that was beautiful.
Yeah. The line between sacred and profane fading away. Mystery and madness, passion and profanity, it's all one stunning tapestry.
So that I feel naturally drawn to share my Hess. I had two Hesses, but this one I know I shared with you, I think a couple days ago, because I just couldn't contain myself. So this is a some grouping of poems from Hermann Hesse, and it's from a book called The Seasons of the Soul.
Hmm.
This one's called Devotion.
Hmm.
What people desire so furiously leads to battle, blood, and guilt. Once you find your home in nature, the earth becomes your holy home, and every person is your kin. Everywhere throughout this world, winds blow and water falls, and blue skies and precious jewels greet you from everywhere. My treasures are the golden clouds at dusk, the soft gleam of the rising moon, birds calling, and the cries of creatures in the woods, birch trees, long sandy beaches, rolling hills and mountain paths. These are my heart's possessions, the comforts of my soul in which it safely rests. Don't pit one fault against another, just gauge yourself in every step by the timeless, patient laws of nature. It is she who carries you through life. May she be your real home.
Yes, I think you and I both deeply resonate with that.
So I encourage you to listen back on this recording, and when you get to this one, please close your eyes, because that juicy bit in the middle, there's so many landscapes that you could sink into, and it's just delightful. Like he said, precious jewels greet you from everywhere.
So we can try that?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're doing it. Close your eyes. Unless you're driving, then don't close your eyes. But if you can, close your eyes or soften your gaze. And I want you to allow some of these words just to spontaneously arise in you, whether it's a body sensation, or you start to see it, or you smell it, or you feel it. However you're perceiving these words, just be curious and open and see where it goes. See how the body wants to lean in and out. What people desire so furiously leads to battle, blood, and guilt. Once you find your home in nature, the earth becomes your holy home, and every person is your kin. Everywhere throughout this world, winds blow, and water falls, and blue skies and precious jewels greet you from everywhere. My treasures are the golden clouds at dusk. The golden clouds at dusk. The soft gleam of the rising moon. The soft gleam of the rising moon. Birds calling. Birds calling. And the cries of creatures in the woods. Birch trees. Long sandy beaches. Rolling hills. Mountain paths. These are my heart's possessions, the comforts of my soul, in which it safely rests. Don't pit one fault against another. Just gauge yourself in every step by the timeless, patient laws of nature. It is she who carries you through life. May she be your real home.
Two things I'm present to, and one is inner resource. Those images really did resource me into a felt sense inwardly of calm and support. And that's what the last line is saying. And I think maybe what our intention was for this whole mini retreat also is that we would all be remembered and return to the support and the home we have in nature.
Yes, absolutely. We can rest here.
Yes. And I hope everyone is able to resource themselves outside, literally at this time, in these days and weeks, that you have a really great sanctuary nearby that you can be outside and resource yourself with this comfort.
Yes, absolutely. It's so healing. I got out for a midday dog walk and it was so nice. It was a little sunny because it's been kind of cold and overcast. So that was some of my outdoor time.
I had a bit today. The cold weather cleared and I got some sunshine and a walk at the park. I'm going to finish. We're actually winding to the end of our 40 minutes. Does that seem okay with you, Denny Shay?
Absolutely.
Close here. This poem has been floating around social media. You may have read it already, but I'll read it to you and then you can have the auditory experience as well as the visual one you may have already had. It's by a poet named Kitty O'Meara. And it addresses this time that we're in. And the people stayed home and read books and listened and rested and exercised and made art and played games and learned new ways of being and were still and listened more deeply. Some meditated, some prayed, some danced. Some met their shadows. And the people began to think differently. And the people healed. And in the absence of people living in ignorant, dangerous, mindless, and heartless ways, the earth began to heal. And when the danger passed and the people joined together again, they grieved their losses and made new choices and dreamed new images and created new ways to live and heal the earth fully as they had been healed. The people joined together again and made new choices and dreamed new images and created new ways to live and heal the earth fully as they had been healed.
Applause. I love that one.
Yes, it's so perfect.
It is. It really is.